Tēnā rā hoki tātou katoa e te whānau koutou, kua aro mai nei ki tēnei o ngā punua pāho, o te Kura Arotea. Can we talk for a minute? He mihi nui tēnei kia koutou. Hey, welcome, and it's my honour to welcome our first two guests to this awesome podcast. And I have to pay my acknowledgements to Te Kohao Health, who, really wants to ensure that our whānau are connected with what's happening in the health and wellness space. And we have our first two guests are going to be speaking about mental health and well-being. Nei koira te kaupapa o tēnei kōrero, and this episode is all in the same basket e te whānau, and that's what Te Kohao Health is, bringing all our, our hauora, our wellness kaupapa together for our whānau out there in the community. Ai, kua hau tēnei ko Matutaera, e mihi nui tēnei ki a koe, Dave Harris. Awesome to have you here, Dave. Look, can you, I suppose, share with the whānau what your mahi is? Pūhiwa, bro, no whea koe, e rā momo kōrero.
Well, Dave Harris tōku ingoa. Ngā te kaungini rongo mai wai ni au. Kua au te manakura te tima takarangi, whānau pai. Primary mental health and addictions, o Te Kohao Health. Hi. And so look, I oversee a team of therapists inside GP clinics.
Hey, thank you very much for, sharing what you do in that mahi. We also have May Pritchard.
Nā mihi nui maha ki koutou tēnā kaupapa. Nā mihi mō te karakia, mō te mihi tēnei rā. I tēnei, he uri e whakaheke o te tiringa prau me te taitau kero. Nā pohi Ngāti Hine, Ngāti Wai, oku iwi. May Pritchard tuku mahi ana koe te tēnei o hau kai whakahaere mo tēnei Hauora Māori Services West.
Hauora Māori Services over here on the west side of Aotearoa.
On the west side of Te Manawataki. So currently we've gone from Te Akawhaiora, Te Manawataki west to Hauora Māori Services west. So I take care of, from a commissioning space, from Waikato and Taranaki. So we invest in services like Te Kohao and other services that have excellent outcomes as well.
Mental health and well-being and Te Kohao Health, and really, and you did talk about GP services. So we're basically talking about the clinic we go into to see our doctor. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking back to to visiting my doctor, and I don't think I've ever gone in there to get any kind of mental health support, bro. So how does it work when you go to your GP?
If you're in distress for whatever reason, you can, a doctor is a good option to go and see. And if you go and see your doctor, there's a couple of avenues that he can suggest, maybe about 3. He could offer medical support, so medication, to sort of help support you with things like anxieties and depressions and that type of thing. You can access counselling support. You can get that through your doctor. What happens if you get on that track, though, is there's often waiting lists, and it can be expensive. And there's kind of a, I think you can maybe get 4 to 6 sessions, and that rotates maybe every 6 months to a year or something like that. And so there's limitations around that situation. And so our team is kind of, we call ourselves the Access and Choice team. And so we're free. You can access us anytime. You can come as often or as little as you want to. Our aim is to see as many people as possible in a day. So we say that we're high volume, meaning 8 to 10 people a day is pretty normal for us.
The whole intention of, Te Kohao Health now is in terms of taking on those services. Because I know a lot of people, including myself, are not actually keen to go into the doctors and say, hey man, I'm distressed. What are the things that are getting in our way of doing that?
Especially for men, I guess there's still a bit of a stigma out there. I don't know if this is a good example, but like in the States, when you go to the States, everyone's got a therapist. And
I've been fortunate enough to be involved in, sitting in circles with men to have, conversations that men seldom have.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that I've encountered when men first come into that circle is they're just surprised that, there are other men that have the same issues they're having, and when we sit down together in a circle and start sharing with one another, we soon realize that, man, I'm not the only one that's dealing with this, right? And do you provide those services for men as well?
Yeah, they're for everybody. But yeah, look, there's probably 3 target groups, if I can say that. There's probably, we do try and target Māori.
Yep.
We are trying to target our youth. Our youth are particularly vulnerable. And we are sort of out in the rural trying to target the rural too.
Wow.
Just to try and give them a little bit. Those are 3 kind of more vulnerable groups.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to set ourselves in places that give that crowd a...
Yeah.
And each therapist kind of has their own set of skills, So our friend Penny Campbell over here, he addiction recovery through whakairo. Everyone's kind of got their own. So they do their whakairo, but while they're doing that, they'll have a bit of a yarn about what's kind of going on, and that just has things to create a sort of a safe space to be able to have those Whaanau's, or those yarns. Some run walking groups. So they'll, so for someone, so we are sort of that distress, but distress is pretty broad.
Yeah.
It is mental health, but like for those of us that are trying to lose weight, say, those our whānau that have got to struggling with diabetes or those sorts of health conditions. There's a depression or a distress associated with those things too, and so it's kind of like some of our whānau or some of our therapists will kind of pick them up, go for our walks. We'll see lots of loneliness out there. Grief kind of coming through. So we're pretty sort of flexible and adaptable, and just try and shift and move to what works for our whānau. But yeah, it's
excellent, Dave. And what I'm getting to is there's so many different types of distresses. There's so many, and like, man, I'm just thinking about it now. Is there's probably a lot of distresses that we like experience, but don't actually do anything about. And so I'm just like, man, I'm just encouraging our whānau to, take heed and use these services that are out there, to benefit ourselves really and to get well.
Well, so like anxiety is easily, from what I say, is easily when you look at the graph, this sort of goes anxiety, general distress, so like just life in general, the depressions, the addictions, relationship challenges, and that's just general health issues that are kind of like that. Anxiety is easily that. So talking about things is a good way to begin confronting things instead of sort of avoiding, shutting down.
I think that's the key part, right? With having people be able to share, with being able to unload stuff as well. And I mean, when you're talking about the distresses, man, there's so many of them, and if we're not unloading them, then those can compound and build up and create more stress. And
I think mental health it's huge. It's the enormity of mental health is huge, yet we can't separate it. So we have the things where I love where Dave has presented our primary mental health in terms of that, this, what's it, something choice?
Access
and choice. We present access and choice where we're looking at people that we need to build resilience from those everyday stresses. Right, we've got everyday stresses. We have that waking up in the morning, don't want to get up, kids going crazy, don't want to listen to them. That is a stress. To our other extreme, which we go to the other end of the probably of the scope, and we're looking at people that are suffering long and enduring mental health issues. So I spent many of my years in the inpatient units and crisis teams, and then went on to developing services around what was the best space, to creating spaces that were well for our people. So for me, I grew up in literally grew up in lived across the road from Kingsea, swam in the pool and believed all the kids there were actually my first cousins who didn't know any different. So family experiences and trauma within my own family has kind of scoped me to where I am today. So my little sister had experienced what they, at the time, diagnosed with schizophrenia after both our parents had died within 9 months of each other. And she was only about 14, 15. Some of that turned around and she became quite psychotic. And I was the charge nurse at that time up at Whangare Hospital. And then I got placed her in there, clinically minded as I was. I made sure that she received all the medical diagnosis from a psychiatrist in terms of being psychiatric, not thinking about her ability around the trauma that she had just experienced, but just took it straight to that level because I'm so clinical in my mind back in those very younger days.
Yeah.
Acuphased you times 3, which was quite heavy treatment.
Oh.
And I had a matua come to me and he said, "Why, this is mate Māori." And I'm like, this.
Wow.
She didn't sleep for 3 days and then another 3 days. And then she started to become very violent.
Wow.
So we thought we'll start to look at, okay, we've brought our kaumātuana. He came and he gave her karakia. She was still the same. He brought Whaia Gina Tamaki in. And she blessed her and gave her a karakia to do. So as she did that karakia, she then told me I had to take her back down to Tauranga Moana. We're from Whangarei, I've got to take it to Tauranga Moana. I'm the charge nurse of this facility. And then the nurses said to me, I said, "Oh, can I take, because I had on my day off, can I take her down? This is what they want me to do." And they said, "No, we've just sectioned her into the mental. You can't take it." So my family were very distraught. And then what happened was I actually told my little sister to walk out, but not the one that was my wewe at the time. And as she walked out, I made a conscious decision to put my registration on the line. Because I felt from my narco that there was something.
Mm.
I guess this is where we look about the normative. Then there's medical and then there's vital. So I took her that day and I took her down to Tauranga Moana that night. We drove all night. We got down there, she had a karakia. She did this karakia. And then she turned around to me after close on to 10 days with no sleep. Totally exhausted. Says, "Can you take me home?" Well, that day turned me into knowing that mental health has so many spheres that we have to be conscious of it. All my time I've spent going into then dedicating towards kaupapa Māori, understanding why. So it was a journey.
Wow.
So I went on that journey. And then for that, I was able to, I wanted to craft services that were right for people. And there was a blockade. Every time there's a blockade for us. So then I've gone into commissioning those things. So I look at how we can now commission and go around and see beautiful work that Dave's creating those spaces, the beautiful work of hearing what you're doing in terms of the Whānau and creating these safe spaces for our people to grow to the potential of who they are.
Mm.
They're born,
Yeah.
So I've got a real passion. Mine is a personal passion. It's every day what we go through. So I experience it at that primary level too, that stress around, I don't think I want to get up today because it's just too hard to realise it. The reason I talk about the enormity is that we need to continue to flourish and make sure that we strengthen our rangatahi of who they are. We still can't forget that at the other end, we've got our whānau that have got long, enduring, chronic mental illnesses that have to be looked after in a specific way. And that specific way doesn't mean that we just put them into a residential home and leave them. It may be that we need to support the family that they do go to residential, but we always make that connection. Always have to make sure that they're connected to their whānau. We need to keep nurturing that. Even though they have an independent whare, we still need to be nurturing that. The saddest part that I say, I always take experiences what I've been through. The saddest part, I got a call one night, it was midnight, from a provider in Manukau. I may had this young kid passed away. We're going to bury him at the Manukau Gardens. Pardon? He comes from Kaikohe. He has a whānau. We can't take them away and say that the family's no good and then place him and then take him away from his whakapapa yet again. So my drive in what I do right now is ensuring that mental health services acknowledge who you are, keep you connected to who you are. Never think that you're their whānau. They belong to an uri. And you need to be able to give them that. So that's the enormity of our needs.
Wow. Man, that is huge. And what I'm hearing too is that through your own personal experiences, you've actually been able to like transform that whole experience that our whānau get to have now. That, you know, we're not just going to treat you like a number, say, you know, that you've actually created spaces for them that are conducive to them, specifically made for them, like intentionally, purposefully, you know. And can you share a little bit about these? Because, you know, we've got Henry Bennett, right? We've got Henry Ronaldo Bennett. People will go there, you know, if they're dealing with, you know, mental health. But there are other alternatives, right, that you guys have created. Yeah, can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, look, we've kind of thing down here. We've had a dream with the kingitanga, and especially with our rōpū that have come from Tainui, and how we've gone. So I'm really privileged. I've been brought up and I've been with the grandmasters. You know, I've been the tono for many years, and I don't care, the Bob Elliots, you know, the Ron Bakers, the Moy Milnes, and I've been there tono for many years. And even though I'm in my 50s now, I'm still there tono. Hey, te pai tera. One of the things that we decided, we had a dream when we come out of there, and they started up a program called Te Whānau. It started with service shed. And they had brought people out of the whare there, and they had placed them into residentials here in Waikato. And from that, they had set up medication run, whares that they could live in, rehabilitation around what they could learn around the basics of life again, taken them from that institution out into here. And they've flourished. They've been going for 25, maybe 25 years. I can't even remember. So what happened was that they decided that actually, the Henry Ronaldo Bennett, well in its best intent, does not work for our people. In fact, the concrete buildings makes us feel caged. So the dream was to create another facility, and it was an alternative. And I'm going to give a pun. I don't think I've asked to do this, but I can't obviously get it. So it was Mai. So Mai was an alternative unit to the Henry Ronaldo Bennett Centre.
Wow.
Based out in a 5-acre place where beautiful whare, and it was raising the Chao Māori perspective, karakia, connecting to who you were, miri. We did CBT, cognitive behaviour therapy, using weaving to articulate our stories around how it would be, and put it into a bundle, and then we would give it away.
Wow.
So that mamai that you had, you would place it in a basket and you would give it away. And you'll continue to build these baskets. And these were about, again, being the author of your Buddha. And that was about that whole becoming, I guess, the most precious skill is to be reflective and learning to do that. I think we spoke earlier about the whole unpacking has been the hardest part of what we can do.
Yeah.
So that was a desire and a dream. Even if I had to put it was a dream that she wanted to create our own hospitals. Not go there, but create over at Turanga Waiwai.
Yeah. So
we've created a mini, and we did this project in the hope that we would be able to get the support to continue to building those, to put in our family, taking the services to our family. So this is here, our next desire and aspiration was to place one out at Coromandel. Because imagine we go out to Coromandel Thames, our whānau become unwell, and then they have to travel. Not only are they taken away from their whānau, taken away from their whenua, and they're driven back into a concrete. It does nothing. So the principals and the staff, very good staff, Dave. They were very good staff.
They were very good stuff.
They were very good staff. Me and Dave have this. They were very good staff. I trained them well, and he stole them all.
And that's awesome, though, because, if we switch back over to David, but yeah, the ball's been thrown back over to you. But, all these kaimahi that were trained to work specifically at this kaupapa, you've taken on a lot of those whānau who were working in that facility. How are they making a difference where you've got them placed now, bro?
Yeah, it's a bit of a shift. It's like May said, like mental health it's huge and so broad. I mean, we even use words like low to moderate. It's hard to know what that even means sometimes, Like low to moderate and then moderate to severe and then severe to, we use these types of words, but I mean, on the ground, like it's just so broad. And so, yeah, May, I did finish some of May's stuff.
I went there before.
And I was really, look, they bring a set of skills because I think that the mental health system's under pressure at the moment, yes, particularly at the sort of the secondary, tertiary end. As an observation, I suppose, not staff burnout, and staff are taking on severe and really complex cases, that are really challenging. What that does is that creates waiting lists because now, like, people that want to be seen by those, or that need to be seen and assessed in those secondary, tertiary sort of services now can't because they get put on a waiting list.
No.
And so while they're on the waiting list, they sit in GP land, and that's kind of where we come in.
God.
And so it's kind of like, well, what it means is that, so May's staff, what they bring, the set of skills that they bring is they're used to doing risk assessments and dealing with severe cases. And that's really helpful for us on the ground because a lot of those whānau just are sitting, waiting around,
Yeah.
And so, their skills become invaluable for us. And managing secondary presentations in a primary setting, really challenging stuff. And so, their set of skills are invaluable.
Wow. A lot of the work that they're doing. So, what a lot of those workers, the psychologists or psychiatrists, or they?
Yeah, mental health nurses. They have to have an annual practicing certificate. Social workers, occupational therapists, counselors, psychologists. Yeah.
Right. So these are along all the different, I suppose, range of therapies of these different people who.
I mentioned earlier around where they call ourselves the access and choice contract. The choice part of it is that, so access means free, and we pride ourselves on being able to see people same day. You can just walk in, and we can see you, that type of thing. So access. The choice part is really around what May mentioned earlier around the different modalities that we use. So framework. So if you see me, come and see me, we can do the narrative or the Pūrākau or the CBT or the ACTs or these different types of therapies that we can use. So for our Māori whānau, our trajectory is a little bit different to how with our mainstream whānau, you know what I mean? Yeah. So what I'm saying is that whānau have a choice. They have choices around what might be useful for the move forward, what might be helpful, what might suit them better.
Yeah. Oh man, that's
Workforce development stuff is really difficult. Hey?
So workforce development, that's why we end up pinching each other's workers, you know what I mean? Because it's really about the shortage.
Yeah. And I think when we decided to think, and even now when I think about hiring or when we're starting to look at a new service development, you kind of look at what does the characteristic of a person need to be there.
Yes.
And mine has been around peer-led services. So it's peer-led. People, nothing like having someone who's had some trauma, some experience, had some self-reflection and be able to master some of that stuff or, come close to it. So that is beautiful. So peer, so for me it was someone who's had life experience. Yes, great, they had a tohu because that's kind of what the contracts say. However, we can get. For me, it was someone who had talent. So someone that could, if they were sportsmen. So we had some really cool people working with us. They were sportsmen. They could play the guitar. They could sing. They could garden. To me, you didn't need to have all those other accolades of academia. It was if you could connect with someone, with a wairua ki te wairua, then you could just unpack a lot of things. Just how we look at the wānanga.
Yeah.
You can go and do one-on-one therapy, but if you go to wānanga, it's the wairua ki te wairua that opens.
Yeah.
And it enables you to flourish, eh?
Yeah.
I guess that's the same with workforce development as well. It's just targeting or, kind of honing into people that have got that gravitation and you can feel their weight. And that was kind of, for me, everyone was going to go, are you going to look at that? Nah, I don't really care about that.
Yeah.
What I care about is they care about people.
People. Oh, that was beautiful.
And that's workforce development. Because that's a talent, eh?
Yeah.
That's a talent, that's a skill. But a lot of people just think that you can be a social worker, you can be a psychologist, you can be a psychiatrist. You can't connect.
Yes.
Then you might as well just stay home.
Yes.
So that's some of the tools that we need to teach.
Yes.
And it comes natural. Sets them up.
Yeah, and what I hear too is, the importance of being able to create and build those relationships, right? And to be able to have the connection with people that has them open up, that has them share. And then this is, I'm sending this straight down the lens to all of our whānau who are like, man, I do care about people, and I am the type of person that people just naturally want to talk to. They already exist in our whānau.
Hi.
Like, I know my wife is one of those. Like, she's got people just see her, and then next minute, 5 minutes later, they're in tears while they're in the corner because they've confessed something to her. And I'm like, why does that always happen to you? She goes, I don't know, people just want to talk to me.
Yeah.
And if you're one of those people, I encourage you to go and get some mahi in this mental health space. Yeah, but also, what I'm actually hearing too is, when you talked about the peer support space, that's where I feel we're sitting when we're in a wānanga, when we're sitting in a mean circle. It's like, man, I can relate with these brothers because, they've been down the same road I'm going down. We're at different phases of that journey, but, we're all going through this journey of life, and there's lots of distresses in this life that we're living. And, when we can sit around and share that with one another, it does relieve and release, a lot of that stuff that we'll carry around with us that'll weigh us down, that'll impact not just our lives, but the lives of the people who we love and who are important to us as well. So then that's what I get possible in the spaces that you're committed to creating for our whānau as well. So, man, I hear lots of awesome opportunities to take care of our whānau and to contribute, to taking care of our whānau who need that support and mental health. And, one of the things you was talking about earlier was, psychiatry and psychology. And like, for that moment there, I was kind of confused. I was like, yeah, what is the difference between psychiatry and psychology? Because they seem like they're the same thing, but they're not, are they?
No, do you want to do the psychology one?
Yeah, we'll go with Dave for the psychology.
Yeah, so the psychology one is sort of the, if you think about, it's the study of thoughts, feelings, actions, really human behavior, the mind, mood, and sort of cognitive sort of spaces, how you're thinking and how that impacts how you feel, and then how you feel impacts on what you do. And then what you do, therefore, impacts back how you think, and then you sort of, there's a bit of a feedback loop there. Get enough of that, you develop habits, and then habits lead to, so it's
So this is basically our human behavior.
sort of how we behave, yeah. And then cognitive psychologists, what they do is kind of, May mentioned it earlier, they tend to sort of sit with people and talk about, so it's talk therapy.
Yeah.
It's really talking.
Yeah.
Psychologists, yeah, they kind of talk their way into understanding. So cognitive psychologists, they'll kind of help you to identify kind of what they call distorted thoughts and help you to reframe your thinking, and the hope that will impact on how you feel and therefore what you do.
Yeah.
And start to change behavior. That
Beautiful.
yeah. Some of the psychoanalysts, though, they sort of delve a bit deeper.
Yeah.
So they sort of head back into your past a little bit and try and unpack some of that, particularly if you're in a situation and things continue to pop up.
Yeah.
And you've worked on some things and then it pops up again, and then gone to get done the CBT and worked on your reframes, it pops up again.
Yes.
Then sometimes you might, those might be sort of a flash to let you know you want to have a good look at this. And so sometimes psychologists will go back into the past and have a good look, and then start to unpack, sort of some of the historical stuff,
Some of the experiences you may have had
experiences you've had.
that may have actually determined, I suppose.
Well, some of your experiences that determine your perceptions and the way you see life, and the narratives that you've formed along the way, how those have influenced how you feel and therefore what you do.
Yeah.
And how all of that kind of impacts on the present moment. So,
Wow.
like psychology tends to look at those types.
Yeah, and I can also see in there, that's where a lot of our personalities, and our identities are created, right, as well. You get to explore all of that.
And so, get to have a good look at that. Shout out to Dr. Di and Papa Mark, Kōkua, and Mai Atua. If you want to sort of go back, they talk about the whakapapa of emotions, and so they can connect your present moment back to our creation stories and to our atuas, and can have a look at their behavior, their characteristics, their own personalities, and then some of that might resonate with you with some of the atuas back there and the different archetypes.
Yeah. What just makes me realize what you're sharing now is that our tupuna were psychologists, because they created these awesome stories about these atua, that are actually giving us insights into our own psychology.
They kind of stories, but it's you, those stories are you. You think it's somebody else, it's not, it's you.
Yeah.
Your tāne.
And all those different aspects of those atua, we can experience those ourselves as well too.
Yeah. I think previously we spoke about Uritingangana, and
yes,
how the eldest child kind of was sort of confronted by his baby brother. Well, I mean, we can all sort of resonate with that story.
Oh, right. I know it's true. I don't have a younger brother, but I've got two boys who are 22 and 20, and I've fully seen it there. I was like, far out. Yeah, younger brother's like stepping up and doing the job of the older brother, and older brother's kind of like hiding out. But
and so shame and guilty and so psychology might kind of look at sort of using Uritingangana as a sort of a part of who you are, and then when you feel shame and guilt, what do? Well, you hide, isolate yourself, distance yourself, disconnect yourself, and
I love it.
But if you can sort of bring that to the forefront and sort of acknowledge or have a look at, hey, look, I've got a bit of uru inside, and in this situation, that's what I do. Bring that to the forefront, have a bit of an awareness, and moving forward. And makes it easier to kind of have some awareness, and then you can be intentional around what you do next.
Wow, this is perfect. Last Sunday we had a Pautama Rites of Passage e tāne wānanga out at Whaanau, and this is exactly the conversation that we had out there, relating with these atua and seeing ourselves and the way we behave through those stories. So
it's quite gentle too. I like it as an approach, because it's as we were saying before, man, I was like, unpacking your own stuff. It's like you have to have a certain amount of courage to be able to do that. So sometimes looking at other people's stories is a sort of a gentler approach towards, and then you can look at yourself.
Oh, it's awesome, Dave. And just want to thank you both, May, for, what you both shared here for this podcast has been awesome insight, into and how huge this mental health kaupapa is, and the spectrum and range that we've got to deal with, but more importantly, how we can take responsibility, as a community, as a whānau, and how we can create spaces that really make a difference for our whānau who are dealing with mental issues, and their own mental health. And just really want to invite you to wind it up with anything that you think is going to make a difference for our listening audience today. May, we'll start with you. Final words.
Yes. I guess I just want to think there's a couple of things in terms of psychiatry. What does psychiatry mean? It's kind of the study around the disease, its medication. It's a place where they need to be, which I think we need to make sure that always sits alongside the psychology, the talking therapy.
Yes.
The biggest thing that we're currently dealing with right now, and the biggest statistics with our whānau, is the neurodiversity. It's around the disability, the intellectual delays that our peers are suffering from from the drugs and addictions, and the things that we get onto that revolving door where we feel kino and pōri, and we're not able to move in because we need to create. Us as a uri or as a hapori need to create spaces of safety so that our whānau can identify who they are. Doesn't matter if you're born with fetal alcohol, doesn't matter if you're born with ADHD, because I always profess I am dyslexic. I am born with fetal alcohol. I still love my parents, but I had to identify that and I had to move forward through that. So I put the challenge out to our hapori, out to our whānau, and out to the government to ensure, sorry, I had to do that one, to ensure that we create safe spaces that create the ability for our whānau to empower themselves so that they can reach to the potential they were born of greatness.
Beautiful words, mate. Yes, we're awesome from the moment of conception, and we're awesome to the moment we go back to the place we come from. So he mihi nui tēnei ki a koe, mate. And I know I really love, what you said about creating safe spaces. This is the cool thing, is that we whānau can create safe spaces too. Anyone can create a safe space. So we're really putting that out to you. E hoa, Dave, your final words for today, e hoa?
Yeah, probably just tautoko really. I guess fundamentally, I do believe that if you can get your Hinengaro right, that you can go on and flourish. And I truly believe that. And so whatever your aspirations are, your goals are, your beliefs are, if you can get this right in your mind first, I can go on to be and achieve the greatness that you truly are.
Awesome. We were born of greatness. Be great te whānau. Koera te kupu whakamutunga mo tēnei punua pāho. It's been awesome having you all along to this is our first ever episode of Te Kura Arotea, Can We Talk a Minute? And this was all about putting it all in the same basket. It's all in the kete te whānau. And no reira he mihi nui tēnei kia kōrua. Ko te tumanako kia pai ngā mahi. All the best for your fellas' work. And to all of our whānau listening, he mihi nui hoki tēnei kia koutou katoa. Make sure you tune in for episode 2. Koe nei te reo o Matutaera e mihi atu nei. Koe nei te Kura Arotea. Can we talk for 1 minute e te whānau? Mā te wā.